Hi guys! Today we're going to be doing this ultra cute pink Valentine's Day Chinese Douyin inspired makeup look. It came out so cute, so if you want to look like a doll, keep watching. I've got a step-by-step tutorial for you. Let's get into the video. First, to start us off, we want the really big dolly eye look, so I'm gonna put in some contact lens. You want ones that are pretty big. This has a graphic diameter of 13.8. Moving on to skin prep, which is one of the most important steps, I'm gonna start off with a very soothing toner. You don't need to use anything crazy strong, just something that will give you a gentle exfoliation, because look at how much dirt and gunk came off of my face, which you can't even see. For hydration, we're gonna go in with a nice serum. I have combo skin that leans more dry, so I definitely need the extra hydration. You do not want a dry base, because that's when you're gonna get the cracking and the patching and the settling in fine line. That's why I love using a skincare mist as well and mixing that into my skin prep routine. It keeps everything nice and fresh, stops it from drying out. It's an extra step, but it's made a really big difference for me in my base makeup. And lastly, to seal it all off, we're going in with a nice moisturizer. Make sure that you're giving enough time for the product to actually settle into your skin. If you go too fast, you might get peeling, those little balls on your face, which we all hate. Now that our skin is prepped, we can get into the makeup. First, I'm going to use this Charlotte Tilbury Glow Filter. Now, this is an extra step, but I really love it because it makes your base look so beautiful and so glowy, but not shimmery or glittery. I'm very much late on the hype for this one, but I totally get it. It's been a product that I've been really loving, and it's low-key a little bit of a staple now. A little bit also goes a long way, and it does have some coverage, so if you want to go a lot more lighter, you could just use this as your base and then spot conceal. Also, because it's such a light formula, it blends really easily. I'm using a dense brush here, but you could easily use your fingers. For foundation, we want something that's full coverage, matte but not dry, glowy but not dewy, and this foundation is perfect. Just gonna blend this all over with one of my favorite brushes right now, the It Cosmetics 101 brush. People ask me if I prefer sponges or brushes, and I'm definitely a brushes girl any day. This is what really helps me to get that full coverage look, because you're just blending the foundation around with the brush, whereas with the sponge, it's soaking up some of the product. So if you're using a sponge and you don't think you're getting enough coverage, it might be time for you to switch to a brush, especially for the under eyes as well. I just use foundation, no concealer, and I use a flat brush to blend it underneath my eyes. This gives maximum coverage. I'm talking max, and it leaves such a smooth finish. Just make sure you blend out the edges with your foundation brush. This makes sure that it blends it all together and it's not just like a weird line. You also want to make sure you're using enough product. Like, do not be scared to use the product, guys. I promise it will not come out cakey. My way of knowing is if I look at my skin, is it shining? If it is shining, then I know I have added enough product. Obviously, my skin is not just one color, so we need to add some darkness back into the sides of my face that are darker. I like to use bronzer, foundation, concealer, literally whatever matches the edges of my face. I'm not doing this with any intent of like snatching up my face. As you can see, I'm not doing it in any like particular shape. It's just to add that color and darkness back into my face. And I personally prefer doing this with cream or liquid versus powder. I feel like it just comes out a lot more blended and soft. Like, it really looks like your skin. Here, I'm doing the same around my mouth area. See, this is a cooler tone of brown, so I'm not going to use that bronzer. I'm using a contour. I feel like leaning into your hyperpigmentation versus covering it up gives the best finish. Are doing liquid highlighter because that gives you the best glow. For brown skin, I feel like the key is finding highlighters that fit your skin tone. Like, you don't want anything that's too white or icy looking, but that doesn't mean you have to go full bronzy and orange. Here, I'm using a kind of champagne rose gold shade, and this is my go-to highlighter. We're putting that on the high points of the face, which is the cheekbones, but also the forehead, because when you glow all over. Just look at that finish. So pretty. For blush, we're gonna be using a cute pink shade. I want to say this is like neutral. Definitely more warmer than cool though. And we're gonna put this right on the apples of our cheeks, right below our eye. So my rule for under eye blush is that it has to be below the end of the brow tail. Anything further than that, I feel like it's not under eye blush. So if you're doing under eye blush and it's not really eating, try making sure it's actually underneath your eyes. Powder is one of the most important steps. Make sure that you're blending out the creases underneath your eyes. This is so important. If you don't blend it out, then you're gonna have those creases stuck when you end up powdering. My method for powdering has gone back and forth. I've done powder puff, brush, powder puff again, brush, but I'm stuck on the brush now. Specifically this kind of brush, it's like flat and also a little bit dense, but also fluffy. Using this in thin layers under the eye has gotten me the best finish. Like, it just comes out so smooth. It also helps to avoid cakiness because you're doing such thin layers versus just going going in on one brush with all the powder and just going right in. The powder that you use also makes a difference. I really love this Huda Beauty one right now. I also love one size, but I'm not gonna lie, Huda Beauty is low-key taking it. It gives such a blurred finish and it does last me all day. I never have any issues with creasing or anything. Just always remember with powdering, keep your eyes up and less is more. But if you have good skin prep and you used a good amount of product of like your foundation, then you should be fine. Make sure you powder the rest of your cheeks and your forehead as well. You don't need to go as heavy with it, but just enough to keep it sort of matte. The reason why you want your under eyes to have the most powder is because remember, we're gonna be going in with powder blush, a lot of it at that. So you need a good base. You don't want it to ever be a little bit wet, not completely set, because that will ruin the blush. Jumping to the eyes, I'm gonna use my pressed powder that's in the color of my skin, and I'm gonna use this as the base for my eyes. If you don't have a pressed powder, you could use eyeshadow, just anything that is a powder and has full coverage, because if you have oily eyelids like me, then you know putting liquids on there is a mess. Powder gives you the coverage that you're looking for without the creasing, and it makes it still really easy to apply eyeshadow. The finishing touch on the base, for now, I have to use this Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder. This is genuinely a filter. There's a reason why everyone loves it. It just makes my under eyes look so smooth, even smoother than they already are. Now for brows, I'm going in with a brow pencil. I've switched from eyeshadow to brow pencil, although I do like using both. When I went to Korea, I got my makeup done and that's what she used. I feel like brows are very personal to each person, so do them however you want. I just like to fill mine in very naturally, following my natural shape. Make sure you brush your brows while you're filling them in, because that's how it's gonna look in the end. And you might brush it and see, oh my gosh, there's a huge gap right there that I didn't see because I didn't brush my hairs. That's why I also like to go in with this brow pen. It really gets in those little holes, and the tip is very, very thin, so you can get those fine little hair-like strokes. Now, a step I've been loving is cleaning up my brows, but not with concealer or foundation, but with a pencil. This is perfect for making your brow look a lot sharper and a lot cleaner, but not too over the top. I'm using an Eggyosal pencil because it's too light for me and works, you know, hashtag multi-use, but they do sell products that are made for this, and if you don't want to get those, you could also just use eyeliner. Lastly, we're just going to use some brow gel to put my hairs in place. I love this Rare Beauty one because it's super strong and it's not messy, plus it does not leave a white cast. Now we're going to get into the eye makeup, guys. We gotta lock in. I'm going to start off with this light pink shade and use this as the base color, just sweeping this across my eyelid and my under eye. The key when it comes to pink eyeshadow, guys, you do not want to use too much. It should not look completely opaque. It should look very soft, and that just comes from not using a lot. You just want a tinge of pink there, okay? Not so much, because we want a cute and soft look, not crazy bright colors look. Using this dark brown shade, I'm going to add some definition to the lash line, specifically in the outer corner, blending out. This is just going to add a little bit more darkness so it's not so flat. We're also going to take it completely under the eyes, sweeping it all over. You want your under eyes to be fully covered with the brown. Walk with me here, trust the process. That is basically going to be the Eggyosal contour, and now we're going to use concealer to draw out the Eggyosal highlight. You're going to grab some concealer on a small thin brush and you're going to draw right in the middle. You're going to draw a line. This is going to be your Eggyosal highlight. You want to make sure you go all the way to the inner corner to all the way to the outer corner. Make sure it's not too thick because we need to make room for the next step, and that's going to be accentuating the lower lash line. So we're going to take this dark brown shade and we're going to put this directly above the highlight. Take your time with this. Use a very small brush. You want to use a shade that has a little bit more red in it. You see how I didn't choose such a chocolate brown shade? That red tone kind of mimics the waterline effect a little bit better. Make sure you focus on the inner corner as well. You really want to make sure it's well built from the end to the beginning. Now that you have that more accentuated, you can go back in with the concealer and make the highlighter look a little bit better, a little bit more even, make it as thick as you want. Try to make the size about as even as the lash line contour. Once you have that, you can use that same shade that you use on the lash line and darken up the contour. You're just going beneath the highlight, so it's super easy. It tells you exactly where you need to put the contour. There's no guessing games. Now that we've accentuated the contour, we can accentuate the highlight. So I'm going to go in with a pale pink shade on a thin angled flat brush, and I'm just going to stamp right on top of the highlighter. Again, there's no guessing games. You know exactly where to put it. The stamping here is crucial because you don't want it to blend out and start looking weird. Have you ever noticed you do your Eggyosal makeup and it just fades? Yeah, that's why we stamp. You don't want it to get blended. You want it to stand out. A crucial part to this dramatic egg style is the inner corner highlight. So you're going to draw a C shape using that same exact shade in the inner corner and making sure to connect it to the egg style. And to make the contour a little bit deeper, I'm going to take this eyeliner and draw right on top of it in the lash line. Again, connecting it to the inner corner. This just deepens it and accentuates it a little bit more because you just do not want it to get lost. Same for the contour underneath. You can use this to start cleaning up the lines and make them look a little bit more sharper because we're not going for natural here. We're going for big, dolly, dramatic. You want to make the egg style look nice and sharp and clean. So especially get in that inner corner. The skin there is thinner, so it needs a little bit more love. Now you have a perfect egg style. If that was a little bit fast for you, it's okay. I'm going to take some time and slow it down. So the step with concealer, why do I do that instead of eyeshadow? Unlike eyeshadow, concealer is a liquid or a cream, so it stands out a lot more. Like blending it out is not as easy as blending out eyeshadow. It's two different results. We want the egg style to stand out because it is so big and we're not going for natural, so concealer is the best choice. Stamping it with eyeshadow further accentuates it and it really builds the shape. Why don't I do that with the contour? Well, the contour isn't as important as the highlighter. It can be a little bit more soft. So instead of concealer, I use that eyeliner pen along with the eyeshadow. When you're doing this kind of dramatic egg style, just remember that you're not going for natural. You want it to stand out. So everything has to be a little bit heavier. Taking a quick break from the eyes, I'm going to use that brown shade and run it through my brows. This is how I like to make it look a little bit more cohesive by making the colors match. Totally recommend doing this. I do it for all of my looks. It makes a subtle difference. Also going to lighten them with a little bit of brow mascara. You don't want it to be too dark because the emphasis on this look is the eyes, not the brows. Brow mascaras are great if you want a lighter and softer look. Eyeliner really completes the look, so we have to do a nice big one. You want to start on the lash line and go in the inner corner first. I find that really helps because you're basically building the shape before you do the wing. For the inner corner, you want to make it a little bit more rounded because that's going to make your eyes look bigger. So you're not going for that like sharp cat eye look, more so like a puppy dog look. When you get to the very inner corner, you're going to connect it to the bottom lash line contour. This tiny detail makes your eyes look huge. For the wing, I like to go outside in versus inside out. We're going for straight eyeliner, so you want to keep your eyes open. If it goes over a fold, that's okay. It goes over the fold. That's how your eyes naturally look. It's completely normal. You don't want to try and change how your eyes look when you're doing the eyeliner because when you look normally, it's not going to look right. You want to keep the wing nice and thick. Again, nothing thin because when we're doing this big eye look, the eyeliner has to also be big. If you're doing a skinny thin liner, it's not really going to match. Now for lashes, we're going to do a light coat of mascara. You don't need anything fancy or particular. We're just using it to cover up the cast from the eyeshadow. If you don't do this, then there's going to be a really clear line of where the fake lashes and where your real lashes are. Really quick, you also want to take that brown shade and run it through your crease, kind of as if you were doing a 2016 cut crease. If you know, you know. It's going to match the bigness of the egg style and the eyeliner and really enlarge your eyes. Make sure to do some highlighting too. For the lashes, we want some big manhwa lashes. When you're applying them, make sure that you're doing it from the top because you don't want them to look flat. You want them to look really big. Where and how you apply it on your eye does make a difference. These lashes are my favorite. They're from Amazon Japan, but any manhwa lashes will work. As long as they're spiky and long and big, it works. You also want to make sure to always go over the lash band with eyeliner. One, to darken it in case the lash glue dries and it looks a little bit too white, but also to match the eyeliner to the lash. You might have to thicken up the eyeliner so that it matches the lashes. Now for blush, one of the best parts. You already know that we have to add a pale blush. It adds definition, it brightens, and it really helps you to blend. Brown skin can use pale blushes. You just need to find the right one for your skin. For the main blush, we need our main slayer, a bright pink pigmented blush. I love this one from One Size because it's a 3-in-1. It has a powder blush, a cream blush, and a highlight. You're going to put this directly under your eyes, mostly focusing on the outer corner. You don't want to get too much into the pale blush. We're really adding the color with this, so don't be afraid to add a lot. You really want it to pop. You want it to be vibrant. Also put this on the edges of your forehead, on your temples. You know, you want it to look cohesive, so the blush shouldn't just be on your cheeks. And you see that gradient from the pale blush to the darker blush? That's why I have the pale blush. If I didn't have it there, it would have just looked a lot more flat. And then you could take the darker blush and just blend it with the pale blush, and it just looks so beautiful, very, very soft. For the last blush, we're going to use a dark, cool red. And this one, you're really going to focus directly under the eye, specifically on the aegyosal. This is really where the definition comes. The pink was meant for the color. This is meant for the definition. Instead of using just a darker pink, red just really gives like everything. Makes it deeper, brighter, more vibrant, and it just blends into the skin and the pink so well. Definitely do not skip red if you're doing pink blush. Now that I've added more color to my eyes, we can go in with some lower lashes. I just use a thick mascara, and you just want to do a downward motion on the lashes, and this will give you the perfect clump. Now it does matter on the brush size. You don't want one that's too thin, but you also don't want one that's too thick. The formula should be thick, not too runny. You know, we really want something that's good for clumping. That's why I like Western mascaras better than East Asian mascaras for this purpose. But if it's not clumping naturally, you can always just use some tweezers and clump it like that. We're going for the dramatic look, so make sure that they're spaced apart, matching the lashes that you already have on top. Try to keep them nice and defined, not too many smudges. Keep it sharp and it'll look just like falsies. Back to the base makeup, we have to add matte highlighter. This is the key to making your base makeup not look flat. We're going to put this in the inner corner, dragging it down to about the middle, also going down our nose area and just blending outwards. Think of the matte highlighter kind of as like filler. It kind of smooths out that area but also highlights it. And so whatever's opposite to that is getting that more contoured look, adding shadows back into the face. I'm going for a sunburnt blush here, so I'm going to go over my nose area with my blush and blending it out with the matte highlighter. Also using that matte highlighter to do some nose highlight. I don't actually do contour, I just do highlight, and that, like I said, causes shadows, which makes it look contoured but without that messy, muddy look that you can sometimes get. I do my nose bridge and the sides of my nose very lightly, and that gives an amazing effect. Always make sure to blend the matte highlighter, like you just want it to look soft but still defined, so you don't want to blend it too much. We're going full pink for this look, so of course I'm going to use a pink highlighter. I absolutely love this one from okhee because you don't really see pink highlighters like that, and if you do, like, they're that silvery, icy white type. This is perfect. I'm going to put this in the inner corner, blending up, also putting it on my nose and my brow bone. Okhee is like the best powder highlighter brand, truly. Using a dark brown shade, I'm also going to add some freckles and put this right over my nose, adding to the sunburnt look. I mostly use eyeshadow for freckles. I think it looks the most natural because it can be blended out and look pretty soft, just like natural freckles. That plus the sunburnt blush, it just looks so cute. Adding the highlighter to my cheeks, just look how pretty that is. Like, highlighter is really the best step. I'm placing that right where I put the blush, under my eyes. You don't want to go super high up on your cheekbones. It should be right where the blush is. Also putting that on the forehead because we have some glow there. To top the highlighter off, we have to add some dew. So I'm going to go in with a dewy balm and place it right on top. Everyone always asks me how I get my skin so dewy. This is the secret. It's perfect because you can still do a full face of matte products and then just add the dew at the end. This makes my skin look so dewy, so glowy, just like so healthy. I feel like everyone should have this product, really. There's a lot of similar ones to this on the market too, so like you have a lot of options. We have to add some glitter to make it nice and sparkly. I'm gonna use a chunky glitter and put this underneath my brow bone, and then I'm gonna take this sparkly glitter and put this right on my eyelid and also underneath it. This glitter is so underrated. It's from the Sephora collection, only like $5-6, and it's so gorgeous. Oh my gosh. It gives you that twinkly eye look. It's just so perfect. Using my eyeliner to accentuate my natural beauty mark and also add some new ones on. And now we can finally get into the lip combo. Starting off with the base shade, which is brown, matte, and around the color of my skin. Then using that brown eyeshadow and putting this on the edges, kind of gonna contour it because we want it to look a little bit bigger to match the whole dolly eye look. It's not that much darker than my skin, so it still looks natural, and it's gonna be very soft. Using a cool tone matte lip, we're gonna put this on the inner portion, and this is gonna be the pale shade, kind of to transition into the darker tones. Topping it off with this beautiful gloss from Makeup by Mario. It's a little bit more red, so it kind of matches the blush. I'm just gonna put this all over. And then lastly, using this rosy pink red matte lip, we're gonna use this as the deep dark color. If it was in gloss form, I would totally use it, but matte goes over really well with gloss. Making sure to blend everything together, and we're done. This is the the end look, and guys, it came out so pretty. It's so cute. Like, oh my gosh, so dolly. I got so many compliments on this makeup look. I think it's one of my top. Trust, when you wear this, you'll be feeling like the dolliest doll ever. It's pink, it's pretty, and it looks beautiful on brown skin. I totally recommend this look to anyone who wants to get into Chinese makeup or just pink makeup in general. I really hope this tutorial helped. Make sure to like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!